Welcome back to the 504 Core podcast. We're with my good old friend Bailey Sloan. What's been up, man?
Not much, man. Just busy with work, but figured I'd take a break, blow off some steam, talk about the Rockets.
Yeah, Rockets Pels. Big series coming up. The NBA world's watching. Yeah, I mean Pelicans are ass. Houston's kind of ascending. What are your opinions on this Houston team right now? Do you think they need to be making moves, like win now moves, or just stay patient with their core? I mean, I know they were interested in the Kevin Durant saga recently, and I think there's been rumors that they might get in with Durant or maybe even Booker. What are your thoughts right now? Should they kind of stay pat, or maybe pursue a superstar in the near future?
Yeah, I don't know, and I'd probably short answer, stay young. Like our young guys are so talented. So you've got Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün. Those guys are like 22, 23 years old. Jalen Green, I really didn't like at first. So I feel like he was just like a shot chucker. He wasn't making good decisions. But like when he has a good game, like he turns it on and he's going to the hole. He's like hitting his step back. So if you asked me a year ago, I would have said like, hey, teams think that Jalen Green's good. Let's trade him. We could probably get a lot for him right now, especially right before we signed the what was it, like 4 year, uh, like $150 million contract. So
How old is he? He's pretty young too, huh? I mean, these guys enter the league at like
yeah,
18, 19 years old. Born in 2022, so he's about 22, 23.
yeah. Same with Şengün. 'Cause Şengün was like had played 1 year professionally and or a few years, but like had his 1 year of eligibility and then hit the draft.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, I
Şengün,
mean, I'm sorry, what?
I was gonna say Şengün's somebody I'm super excited about. And it's
Is
been
he
good.
I was gonna say, is he your number one trade asset right now, or is it the Thompson twin?
Trade asset. Like I'm not touching either of those guys. And
Well,
it's
I think,
been
yeah.
weird this year because what's his name? Ime Udoka is probably like the most important piece in all of this. Has kind of limited Şengün's minutes. Like he went from like 35 minutes a game last year to like 30 this year. I guess part of that's given Amon Thompson and like Cam Whitmore and those guys, Tari Eason, some more minutes, but it's like I'm not trading Şengün. And I mean, I haven't seen him play as good as he did when he first started, like with the passing and the baby Jokic narrative, but I don't know. Jalen Green could also be a superstar, and this year he's looking a lot better.
Where would you rank the Houston core out of like all of the NBA?
I mean, I think they're like right up there with the Thunder. Like they've had the same kind of trajectory. And so if you look at the Thunder went from like a bubble team playing against us in 2020. I think they might have been a bubble team in 21, and then 22, they're middle of the pack in the West, and then 23 or 24. Now they're like a one seed. So I think the Rockets are on that same trajectory. And if they keep those guys together, especially like Thompson, maybe Jalen, LP, like those guys could compete for a championship in like 2 years.
So if let's say like Durant is there in the offseason, which by all accounts, the NBA's superstars rotate,
Yeah.
constantly. So what would a trade look? I mean, obviously Van Fleet's in that, right?
Yeah, I would think Van Fleet's probably my least favorite out of the Rockets right now. Um, but you would have to give up like Tari Eason, Jabari Smith. Like you would really have to like cut into what we've built. But as far as like the easiest pieces to cut, I feel like Kevin Durant's like more similar to Jabari Smith, like position wise, size wise. Obviously, Kevin Durant's a way better scorer, but um, we kind of drafted Jabari Smith for his 3 and D, and then hasn't really been panning out as much this year. So I think some mix of those guys. But if you asked me a year ago, I would have said, yeah, let's go for Kevin Durant, especially coming off of getting Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, who I was not huge fans of. Still, I'm not most games, but yeah, you'd have to give up one of those guys.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Jabari Smith? I've always kind of, I would say he's polarizing, but I think he should be better than what he is. Do you think he relies on the three too much? Every time I watch him, I feel like he's kind of like Wemby. Like his shot diet isn't,
Yeah, man, watch. He's got a super underrated 15-foot jumper, like turnaround, like on the baseline. He's lethal because he's got the guys he's going up against. He's got some height on, and he's just got such a pure shot. But I don't know if it's like he doesn't have the volume that he had at Auburn, and he just can't turn it on. But then same thing on defense, and thankfully we've got guys like Tari Eason and Amon Thompson, Dylan Brooks, who can kind of help out a lot more, and I think they're switching pretty often. But uh, still, like he's not to the point where I thought he would be. He hasn't developed the same way that like Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün did.
How old is he? He's got to be what, like 21?
Yeah, yeah. So I think Reed Shepherd's the youngest at like 19 or 20, and like out of our core, and then Jalen's the oldest at like 23.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I mean, you're kind of getting into situations like you're gonna have to start paying these guys. I mean, you guys haven't paid Jabari Smith yet, have you? No. Huh?
No, I think he comes up like this year or next year.
What do you think? Like, just off your top of your head, what is contract gonna look like? Like 15 a year, 20 a year? Like, I mean, these guys are getting paid ridiculous, but
somewhere in there, because I was honestly pretty shocked that they gave Jalen and Alpi the 33 million or 35 million, whichever it was, like that much. But if we could, kind of take advantage of a Jabari Smith down year, like I still think he'll be an awesome player, but we'll just have to see.
where's the ceiling?
That's a great question. I mean, I don't know. I think of guys like Chris Mullin, who just like
Chris Mullin, wow.
Andre Kirilenko, like those kind of guys that are just like
two white guys. That was unheard of. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I was thinking like stealing wise. I mean, I hate saying this, but like they were throwing around Kevin Durant. I don't see Kevin Durant in him. I think he's a little bit different. I mean, whenever you compare someone to Kevin Durant, it's like Kevin Durant's a top 3 scorer of all time. It's like,
yeah.
But yeah, do you think he could be like part of a trade package, like him and Van Fleet, and then maybe like one, because you guys have a lot of picks too, don't you?
Yeah, we've got
Y'all the Suns pick too, right?
the Hall, I forget which one it is, but I mean it's one that which I've honestly that's another, like I was mentioning, Ime Udoka being such a key piece, Raphael Stone and what he's done, and I guess Daryl Morey to an extent. We've just found incredibly valuable picks. Like you think about the Thunder pick, the Nets pick. Like we got picks for James Harden, and then all 3 of their big 3 leave in 2 years, and they just absolutely implode, and we get a shot at like a top 3 pick again.
Yeah. Speaking of all right, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, speaking of a top 3 pick, what's going on with Reed Shepherd? Every time I hear is that he doesn't play. I mean, he's just not shooting the ball. They not enough shots to go around. What's going on with him?
Yeah, that's pretty much it as far as I can see. Like we've got a lot of talented guys that need to touch the ball, and if Tari Eason's getting an offensive rebound or Amen Thompson, like they're just taking it back. They're not working it around that much. But and same thing with like Jalen Green is hogging the ball a little bit. Again, it's panning out better this year than it has the last couple of years. But something I saw from Reed Shepherd pretty early on though is that the Rockets don't have a ton of ball handlers, and so like Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, both those guys are starters, and then our next 2 up are Aaron Holiday and Reed Shepherd. And Reed Shepherd just turns the ball over way too much, and I think he's more of a 2, but like he's just way too small to play that position.
Y'all want DeJounte Murray? We'll trade you DeJounte Murray.
Hey, I was gonna ask you and see if you run that Zion trade back.
Which one?
what did you say? Zion for Dylan Brooks and
It might have been like
Jabari
Jabari and some
Smith.
picks. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you were asking me at a pretty dark time with Zion. I think people are, going to get carried away with him, or, my opinion, you are what you are. Like, I don't think Zion just very like polarizing, because if you ask, like, if you surveyed probably out of the 30 GMs or the other 29 GMs, they're all like, you're going to get 29 different answers on what he's
Yeah.
worth and everything else. So, um, since Zion's been in the Pelicans, he's really never been healthy. He kind of carries this like black cloud over the franchise in a weird way, because like you just see all these like lazy ESPN takes, like, oh, I heard restaurants can't wait till he comes in. It's like
Yeah.
it's just like dumb shit like that. And then I think that kind of leaks into the locker room a little bit. And then, Zion's healthy, he looks amazing when he comes back. And then like what happens like 48 hours later? Oh, Zion's suspended because he's late for team meetings. It's like the NBA is a superstars league, and when your superstars aren't showing up, like there's just, if they're not showing up, they're not being accountable, they're not doing whatever, like it leaks into the team. Like if anyone's played any sports at any level, like knows that, like if your guys have bad attitudes, whatever, it just turned bad. But if you look at Zion now, like they're playing him like probably like 28 minutes a game, 29 minutes a game. They're doing that probably for the tank, probably for his health, all the above, you name it, doesn't really matter. I mean, the season's cooked anyway, but like he's putting up insane stats. He's obviously a talented player, but can he sustain that? I don't know. Maybe that's the new best thing, is like just play him 28 minutes, but and then the playoffs, bump it up to 35. I really don't know. But yeah, his value's all over the place. When you asked me, I was just like, fuck this dude. I'm getting tired of this.
Yeah.
But I knew at the time though, like you don't want to trade him, because everyone's like, oh, trade him now, trade him now. It's like, there's really no point in trading him at that point, because his value's so low. His, reputation is what it is. He's just unreliable, out of shape, you name it. If he stays healthy throughout the rest of the year and he plays like he's playing now, I would revisit a trade. Just trade talks. I know I saw rumors that the Hornets called about him. Whatever they could offer up, I don't think
Yeah, I
much.
don't know what you get out of them.
I mean, like Miles Bridges, who fucking has gun charges or whatever the hell he had, and then you got,
Yeah.
it's just I don't really know. I don't think you can rely on Zion unless Griffin, David Griffin, like the GM or president of operations, whatever. He's always late to the show, like making decisions. Like he should have made a decision a year or two ago on Brandon Ingram and Zion. Like they never even compliment each other and just wouldn't make a decision. And then they shoot him out for Bruce Brown and Olynyk and a protected first. So I don't know. I don't really know what to make of the Pelicans. It's depressing. I'm glad we got Eve Missy and Trey Murphy though. Trey Murphy's like that dude. He's probably on one of like the best contracts in the league. And then one thing too that I was looking at, I mean, Herb Jones is about to go into the third year of his fourth-year contract. He's on an amazing contract. Like this is about the time. This is about the time when Herb Jones is like starting to be mentioned in the trade block. Like this, you don't usually wait till that fourth year to trade a guy unless you extend him. So he's probably going to get a pay raise. Considering he was a second round pick, there's like structures to what they could have offered him and everything else. So he's gonna get a bump in salary. So are the Pelicans willing to pay him? All this other stuff. So the Pelicans are in a big mess. But yeah, going back to your question, getting Jabari Smith. I think Jabari Smith plays. I mean that's a start,
Yeah.
right? We were talking about his contract. I don't know what he's going to be offered at, valued at. If he comes here, I'm sure he's going to want. If we trade for him, I'm sure we're going to have to pay him more money, right? So
Yeah, you got to pay a premium if you demonstrate that you want some money there.
yeah, I'd be like a little sticker tax, 15% or whatever the hell it's going to be. So like that puts probably in the $30 million range. Dylan Brooks, he's got to be at the end of his contract, right?
I forget. I think he and Fred were both on like 3-year contracts. So yeah, 3 or
Why'd y'all
4
do
years.
that? Was it just like for shits and giggles? I mean,
I don't know. It's, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Dylan Brooks is Ime Udoka's favorite player. Like he's more or less come out and said it. And I don't know. Honestly, I was a huge Dylan Brooks hater, and I think he's super corny when he does his, like stare down at the opposing team when they're warming up.
Mhm.
and I'll never forget. Like if you have a chance, you should watch it. I forget which one happened first. Like he crossed up Tyrese Halliburton, when he was
Oh,
off
I
the
remember
year
that. It was
last
on
year.
Twitter for like 24 hours.
No,
Yeah.
but so he crosses him up, and it's like staring him down when he's out of bounds, or like fell out of bounds, face guarding him when he's inbounding the ball, and picking him up 94 feet. But then 3 plays later, Dylan the Villain, this guy that we got, it's supposed to be like the LeBron stopper, gets crossed up himself, falls over, and I've seen it so many times where he's supposed to be guarding the best player, he's supposed to be our
Yeah.
best defender, and he just gets put in the spin cycle. But I went to the Dallas game because Kyrie's like, anytime he's in town, I try to go see him.
Yeah.
It was like New Year's Day, Monica and I went to go see him, and I'm watching him go up and down the court. He was guarding Kyrie and Klay Thompson, who both had awesome first halves. But he starts needling him, he starts elbowing him, and
He's a
picking him
pest.
up. And then they come out of the second half and score like 6 points. I think like Quentin Grimes was carrying them in the second half. It was unreal, but that was the first time I was like, shit, like this guy's got value. But I mean, relative to all the other young guys, I'd give him up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously, I would say he's not a trade asset because of his contract, but his contract is good for fillers, and same with Van Fleet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was always. I mean, what was it 2 years ago in that playoff series? Was it against LeBron? He was just like atrocious, or three
You
years
talk
ago?
about when
I
he was
don't know.
still on the Grizzlies?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was it 3 years
Yeah, like
ago?
3 years ago.
God, dude, shit flies by. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I remember just like how much hate he got just because he was just like talking shit and like just not backing up in the
Yeah,
slightest.
exactly. You can't back it up.
I mean, it's kind of funny, but at the same time, like he does bring attitude. I think he does bring some positive things. That's why Ime likes him. I mean, Ime is kind of like a hard nosed coach, right? So,
Oh, big time. Like
um,
that's I a lot of people on Twitter are like what's this dude's problem? Like we just had an awesome game, or we lost a close game against the Kings, and he's like really pissed. And it's kind of that like Kobe mentality, like I'm here to win, and we're gonna win, and y'all are gonna take this seriously. Because that was, I don't know if you heard about it, but that was like our biggest problem apparently, is that we were losing, over 40 games a season, and everybody was still cool in the locker room, and they just didn't take it seriously. And that was part of the reason we got those guys, was to bring like a seriousness, and just, think I would never cheat on Nia Long, but thank God Ime Udoka did, and we got blessed with him coming to Houston.
who's
That's
Neil
just,
Long? Is that the owner? No, who's
no,
that?
that was his wife,
Oh, oh, oh.
because he like cheated on his wife, and then
What the like a Boston owner, right? Or Boston owner's wife or something like that?
somebody in the organization, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
They have like a no tolerance policy. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing fine. Like I could coach the Celtics probably.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, big no fucking wife's policy. No, it's yeah, Ime's pretty good. I'm glad you like spoke on that. Like people, losing games, no one really gave a shit, like all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that's kind of a problem with Pelicans. Like when you talk to Pelicans fans, there's just like no sense of like, excellence in my opinion. I mean, I get it because we've never won anything, and then anytime someone does talk about the Pelicans like ever being a contender or ever being like that's like, oh, you remember those 2 weeks when we were the number one seed and Zion, blah 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 blah. It's like, yeah, I remember, and then like it goes back to like, oh, remember when we swept Portland and all that stuff. I'm like, that's just like they just talk about the same
Yeah.
stuff, and there's just like no like we'd never paid the tax. It's just like kind of depressing, and then people don't really give the Pelicans respect, and I obviously get that. But yeah, you gotta have a sense of excellence, and then it's like Willie Green. They talk about the same stuff with Willie Green. It's like, oh, he's dealt with injuries. He's a nice guy. He's respecting the locker room. It's like, okay, it's like
He's not
just
winning,
gets,
so
yeah, he's not winning, so it just gets old. Um,
which is unreal that you guys got like have, and I get like everybody's been, but it's like I'm able to follow them all this year because nobody talks about them, and it's like I don't know if everybody's still hurt, but y'all got CJ McCollum, John Murray, Brandon Ingram, Zion. I know like Valanciunas, I think, has left a pretty big hole, but like an awesome team. Herb Jones, Trey Murphy,
Yeah,
Alvarado.
exactly. You've listed like 10 guys that are just like awesome. Like I like to break it down as like in the NBA, you look at your superstars as like, is this guy a number one on a championship team? Is Zion a number one? Maybe if he plays, but like,
Yeah,
but like, could he be that? Yes. Is he a number? Is he definitely a number two? Yeah, he could easily be a number two, no doubt about it. But like a one, maybe. It's like, and Trey Murphy, is he a number two? I mean, I think he's ascending to that spot. I think could easily be a number three. Um, but yeah, just our team, very very talented. None of it fits together. Like, oh, it's like DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion. What makes all those players great? They shoot the hell at the ball. Like McCollum needs 20 something shots a game to be like relevant and all. He doesn't defend. He's a good leader allegedly. But he needs a volume guy. Murray's a volume guy. Zion's a volume guy. Ingram is a volume guy. So when you have 4 out of your 5 guys that need the ball constantly, it's just not a good fit. And that's been kind of the Pelicans' problem throughout this whole thing, and then injuries and everything else on top of that. So it sucks. But yeah, I mean, Cooper Flag, here we come. You never know.
I don't
I don't know.
know. That I really like Cooper Flag, and I've got a penchant for Duke guys. Like which this was probably like my worst take ever, was saying that I thought Luke Kennard was going to be like amazing in the NBA, and I guess he's been doing really well this year because he's what, like leading the league in 3 point percentage or three
Yeah, he's
points
he's a good
made.
role player, but yeah, yeah,
He came out the same year as Jason Tatum, but between like him, Zion, Jahlil Okafor, um, and now or Kyle Filipowski, Cooper Flag. Like I don't know, I have a lot of respect for those Dookie guys, but I don't know. He looks insane in that clip of him and Amen Thompson just destroying the Team USA and only losing by one or beating him by one if I remember correctly. But
mm-hmm.
uh, he's what, turning the ball over like 8 times a game and like
Flag.
yeah,
Has he been? I don't think he turns it over that much, huh?
I think so. Like it's pretty bad. You can fact check me, but I know early on in the season it was a huge deal that he was like turning the ball over in the clutch too. So he
Mm-hmm.
would be the go-to guy in the last 2 minutes, and he would turn it over like twice.
Yeah, I know. I know when because he entered campus when he was 17, and then when he was 17, he struggled in the beginning. I know one game specifically. I forgot against who, but it was like one of the first like 6 games of the season. He turned the ball over in the clutch like maybe 3 times.
Yeah,
Um, but then when he turned 18, like weirdly, he started like really ascending. Cooper Flag, in my opinion, is just like I think he'll be like a really good number 2 on a championship team, or that's what he's going to be. That's what I think he's
yeah,
going to be. But he really doesn't. He does a lot of things really well. He doesn't have elite athleticism like for an NBA guy. He's got decent size and have great size. He can shoot the ball well. He doesn't shoot it great. Um, he, I think he's just really smart. He's a decent defender. He's not a worst. He just does everything really well. He doesn't really have any
yeah.
weaknesses, and he's very smart. So I think he'll be fine. But is he some kind of generational guy? I mean, I don't really know. I don't know. This is a really good draft class. You haven't really have you kept up with it at all or not really?
No, I mean I know there's that guy for Auburn. I think.
Broom.
Yeah, short answer no. But
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of college basketball. I just don't know who I'm watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big
No.
big UH guy though. Monica went to University of Houston, my fiance, and it's like any chance we can go watch a basketball game, we're going. I could talk about them all day. They have an amazing team.
What are they ranked right now?
They were ranked 4. I know the rankings are coming out today, but they dropped down like beginning of the season. They lost to Auburn, like Kentucky, uh, Alabama, somebody else, like 4 awesome teams. And then since then, they've like destroyed the Big 12 and then lost to like their only conference loss this year was to Tech.
Are they? They're. I'm trying to think, would they be a number one seed in the tournament? Probably, huh?
I think so, just because like it's a like circular firing squad in the SEC. And I
Yeah.
think especially like if they win the Big 12 championship or Big 12 tournament, then they're going to have a really good case for it. But I don't know. I mean, Auburn's really good. Alabama's really good. Tennessee's really good. Who else is up there? Like St. John's.
For college, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Duke. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, Duke,
it's
obviously.
yeah. I think Duke's team's pretty stacked. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of keep up. I don't keep up with like so much the teams. I just keep up with like the players. If
Yeah.
it kind of my level of interest in college basketball is directly tied to how shitty the Pelicans are, and the Pelicans are
Yep.
obviously pretty terrible. So I've watched a decent a bit, but yeah. Where we were talked about the Suns pick. Let me see. Let me go on Tankathon real quick.
What
Dude,
is it?
do you ever look at Tankathon?
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh, it's awesome. It just shows you like NBA. You've probably seen it, but like when people like sim a lottery, um, it just shows you like all the standings in the NBA. So like where everything would go.
And then
Um,
like the players that are projected.
yeah, they have like mock drafts. So like right now, it's like Washington's 11-48. That's just so bad. But it says like top four pick 52%. So the top three teams get 52%, and the four teams 48%, and then it obviously drops from there. But yeah, you guys own Phoenix's pick,
Okay.
and they're 12th right now. Phoenix is terrible. They don't.
That's another we were talking about earlier, like just not enough ball to go around. At least I hope that's their problem. And Bradley Beal's not just terrible now. Devin Booker is not terrible.
Oh, I mean, they're obviously very top heavy. But they kind of built everything. It's kind of funny because like Daryl Morey. What are your thoughts on Daryl Morey? I want to start with that.
Oh well, I mean that guy brought me like the best Rockets team I've ever seen, so I could never hate him. And I think like seeing the stuff that James Harden says about him, it was just
Mhm.
it puts me in a tough spot. Like I think I'm the only guy in Houston that like still, at least at my office, but like it still likes James Harden. Like give him a standing O in the Toyota Center, but
Wait, he's not James Harden's not beloved in Houston right now.
no. Well, it's a lot of like the old white people that say, "Oh, he he should have given more to the team," and which I get. There was like an attitude issue there, at least a perception of one, especially with him like looking fat the last couple seasons. But all of the guys in the NBA are like, no, James is one of the toughest workers, and he's a leader in the locker room. He just doesn't. He's like an Andre Johnson guy, where he's not, you know, going out on sports shows and stuff like that. He's not making it known, but
Oh, he makes
internally
it in
everybody
the
respected
strip
him.
clubs.
Did you ever see on Reddit somebody did like a regression analysis and found that James Harden did better in cities? I forget which way it
No.
was. No, he did worse in cities with better strip clubs. So the top comment was like Harden's stats dropped from MVP level when he dropped stacks from the VIP level.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I never saw that, but I'm not surprised. I mean, yeah, he's not on ESPN, but you'll see him on Twitter the next day.
But
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
yeah, it's a lot of the people think that like he owed us something and needed to stay, but I don't know. Like that guy again gave like two of the best seasons I've ever seen the Rockets have. So he can do what he wants now.
Yeah, but yeah, no, the reason I ask you about Daryl Morey and then tied into Phoenix is like I think a lot of these GMs go off this big three model, and this like big three model is so dated, in my opinion. It's just like it doesn't make sense whatsoever. I mean, think about the NBA now. Like the NBA is so deep. Like you name, I don't know, 10 guys on the Rockets. The fucking Pelicans have 10 guys on our team that are like, oh, I could see all those guys like being good. They are good players, and we're the fourth worst team in the league. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's crazy how much depth there is. Obviously, it's a superstars league, and then this like new CBA that was passed. It seemed like it just ruined all these GMs' lives. By the way, this soap opera's been between NBA media, but like I think this like big three model is completely dead, because if you take a big three model, then you go into the tax or the second apron or whatever it is, or first apron. So it is kind of crazy, how fast the NBA has changed. But you see like the Suns, Sixers, all these other teams that are like kind of chasing that model, and I'm just like I'm surprised no one's really called it out. I mean, I think you kind of have to build. You have to build around your two superstars and complement what they do. Like that's
Yeah,
the
that's the
way you
big
build a
thing. You can't
team.
just go like, I don't know. Somebody brought up the point talking about the Lakers, and they were like, look, you've had two of the best players in the NBA with LeBron and, I'm sorry, Anthony Davis, but it's like, you've gone through four coaches in as many years. Like, I don't think it's an issue with those two guys. I don't think it's a coaching issue. Like, I think it's just a numbers issue. And when you have two guys that A, need the ball that much, and B, need a certain amount of money, then you just can't fill the spots that you need to. So why don't you go with I'm trying to think of like a mid-tier player that could get decent money.
What's decent money? 20?
Or even just like 30. So you're not paying two guys like 40-50 million dollars a year.
Come take CJ. Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah,
you have one of those like superstars, and then an amazing role player like I'm sorry, but CJ McCollum, and then, well, I don't know, maybe I am just describing like what the Pels are doing, and apparently it's not working. But
well, the Pelicans, it's like someone like having like a Thanksgiving dinner, and they made like 3 turkeys and stuffing, and then they're like, oh, everyone else brings something else. Or like when people show up, they're like, where's everything else? It's like, is
oh,
that
I
all
had
we
three
got?
turkeys, yeah.
Yeah, I got 3 turkeys. I mean, hopefully you're carnivore, but like it's just like they don't like nothing complements each other. It's just I don't know. I don't know if it's a good analogy or not, but that was what I came up with. But it's just like the Pelicans just have a bunch of stuff that it's like all the same thing. It's like all ball dominant players, nothing complement each other.
Yeah, I
It's
had the
just
hardest time telling Trey Murphy and Herb Jones apart from each other the first year out when I would talk to Chuck and be like, who, like, are these the same guy? Like, both
well,
3-and-D guys.
they complement each other well. I mean, one's a defender, one, and then Trey Murphy. I think Trey Murphy can play with anybody. I mean, he's one of the better shooters in the league, pull from anywhere. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. That's why I think like KD is kind of a natural fit, because KD can kind of slide into any team anywhere. I mean, if he can slide with the Warriors with those guys like Thompson, Draymond, all those guys, like I think he can play with anybody. I mean, he's just a flawless guy,
I
scoring
think you
wise.
you kind of touched on another issue, like we were talking about the Sixers chasing the big three model. I think that there's a huge, and same thing with ESPN, like bias towards these superstars that might not really be superstars anymore. And I'm not saying Kevin Durant's washed or anything like that, but
He's
you know,
36. Yeah,
yeah, like all these guys, Paul George is up there. Like I remember that watching that guy in the playoffs in like 2012.
yeah, like high school. Yeah,
So I feel like these guys are, still demanding these big contracts, and they do have the stats to back it up and the accolades. But Paul George, like in the middle of the fourth last night, was like 1 for 8. I know he's been just doing terrible if he's not hurt this year.
yeah. Well, I mean, the NBA is just superstars, like, but it was kind of funny. It's like, why aren't the Clippers wanting to commit to that 4th year? And like everyone's like, oh, the Clippers are stupid. Clippers are stupid. I'm like, they probably know something. I mean, they deal with this guy every single day. But yeah, the NBA just kind of caters superstars. Like I was I was watching the game with my dad, the Pelicans Spurs game, and I think Trey Murphy or McCollum was shooting a free throw, and you know how like they got like 3 guys like whatever on the blocks, and he got 2. Chris
Yeah,
Paul was like in the background, like walking, like between free throws, like walking in front of McCollum, and then like he did like a circle around. I'm like, dude, if I was a ref, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? My dad's like, oh well, you can't really tell these guys anything because they're the ones who like write the checks. Basically, they're the ones who bring people together. I'm like, yeah, I mean that makes sense. I just think everyone's so powerless to these guys. Like, if
yeah. I mean,
someone
like
doesn't,
throwing it back 20 years ago, like LeBron's doing the crab dribble.
yeah,
LeBron's traveling every possession, but that's who people are watching.
Yeah, people are just like, but yeah, these guys just get so much power, and like everyone just, these GMs kind of have to cater to it. It's just it's gotten kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you, just how much like leeway these guys get. So I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it. Yeah.
I think
Any
in 2 years they'll kind of, when they start retiring, and we'll see guys like LeBron and KD and Paul George and James Harden, Russell Westbrook. I mean, I know he's already one leg out the door, but those guys start retiring, and then it moves to, okay, now it's finally like a Doncic, Booker, Jason Tatum,
Wemby.
Wemby. Oh my God, yeah,
I mean, he's got to be like, if you were to draft, like, if you were to do a draft of like who's the next face of the league, is he number one? I mean, who would be next? Luca, I guess. I guess Luca, just because he's on the.
yeah,
I mean, Luca's obviously amazing, but like throwing him into the Lakers, I think kind of throws gasoline on fire, just because he's like the
yeah,
most storied franchise. So I mean, I don't really know who would be next. It's supposed to be Zion. Like,
yeah. I was about to say I would have said Zion, but it's just too hurt.
yeah, I mean, Zion plays. I think I don't know.
If
So
Zion
boring.
plays, I'm putting him up there with those guys, but he doesn't. Like I've never seen somebody his size be able to flip his hips that quickly. Just, you know, dunking from the restricted area, like
He's insane. I mean, he really is.
when he's healthy.
Yeah, when he's healthy, it's just tails all his time. But yeah, I don't really know who would be next. I don't think Flag. I mean, you got to have like some like unusual thing. You got to be like just a top five player of all time or whatever. But yeah, I mean, Curry and LeBron have just kind of carried the league the past what X amount of years. But I don't really know who's next. But it's definitely going to be a different era of basketball whenever LeBron leaves. I think that's pretty obvious. So. Could Jabari Smith be the next face of the league?
I don't know, man. Jalen Green, I will say, like hated on that guy so much the last couple of years because he can he was going between like, okay, he'll score 25 points, but then he'll also score like 8, 10, 12 points, like just as often. But this year, now that he's like hitting his groove, and I've seen flashes of it before, I think that guy could be a superstar. The way he like throws himself at the rim, has like a pretty nice bag, but I see the moves he's doing, and I'm like, okay, I feel like you're just doing moves to like look cool. Like you're not trying to get open, you're not trying to create space, you're not trying to find your rhythm. Like he's just taking step backs to take step backs. But at the like same or other side of the same coin, like I really do think that guy could be a superstar where he's dropping like 30 points a game.
Green.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. Like, I think teams in the NBA quit on guys so fast too.
Hmm.
Like, kind of saw with the Dejounte merger with Daniels. I understand the move when it was made, but like Daniels was an elite defender at like 18 or 19 years old, whatever he was, and like that's pretty rare in the NBA. We just kind of punted on that. Now he's like leading the league in steals and all this other crazy stuff. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah. I mean, Jalen Green just turned 22. I mean, but between 18 and 22, I mean, the difference in that age alone, like you're a completely different person. And then 22 to 26, same thing. Like you're evolving, you're getting better, smarter, stronger, everything else. And then like your prime is usually like 26 to 30,
Yeah.
31. So yeah, I mean, he's gonna be a fun player. Yeah, I mean, I could see him emerge. I mean, Houston's a pretty strong market too. So I mean, I would assume he's gonna keep getting better. Yeah, I guess he's kind of a sleeper pick. That's not a bad pick, but
Him,
um,
and there's another guy I'm forgetting about right now.
I think
Oh my
Thompson
god.
could get there too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but I mean, a year ago I would have said like Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore. Those guys haven't. I don't know. Tari's been hurt the last couple of years, but
How is Tari Eason for all my LSU fans out there?
that guy is incredible. And I heard somebody put it really well, saying that because he was a six man at LSU, he was immediately ready for that role in the NBA. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
guys that come into the NBA that have been, the number one option on their team for 10 years. So they get
Yeah.
to the NBA, they get humbled and they get, downtrodden because they're not the first option anymore and they're the, seventh option or whatever. But they said Tari was just ready. He comes in, he is the sixth man, he's ready to play, and he comes off the bench. And I think they call him like the Terror Twins or something, like
Mhm.
him, Thompson, and then it used to be like KJ Martin would just come in and they're throwing alley oops. They're getting 2 steals and like as many possessions, like just unreal, like game changer.
Yeah.
And I think we got him in the second round. Yeah, because we got I think him,
He was a steal.
Jalen, or I'm sorry, Jalen Alperin and him like in the same draft.
Did y'all really?
I think so.
Yeah, drafting well is key to pretty much any sport. Do y'all pay the tax every year or no?
I don't think so. I'm sure we'll come up on it. We did when we were good, and I think it helped for sure.
Yeah. No, it's impossible to like be a contender or anything else without doing it. Would you consider them contenders, or do you think they're a year away, or you think they're a year from being a year away?
I can pull up the receipts. I have said like okay, I think 26, 27 is the year where the Rockets are like a top seed in the West
Mm. Without making moves?
without making moves. I think well at the
Mm.
time it was like okay, we need to keep Jalen, Tari, Bari, and Alpi, and like those four guys will be our starters. But I mean, the way like, Tari Eason, whatever. And again, I kind of like having Dylan Brooks on the team now. Fred, not. I've seen that guy just take horrible shots at the end of a game, and I
That's
can't
all. Yeah.
forgive him for it.
That's all Bill Simmons bitches about when I listen to him. He's like, "Oh, Fred Van Fleet." He's like just taking dumb shots at the end of the game. Yeah, because you guys don't really have. I mean, I guess I would throw Green in there, but you guys don't really have like some kind of
There's no
closing.
go-to guy.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the problem. Seems like you guys got a bunch of like stars or borderline stars, but not like the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think Jalen could get there if I look at anybody on that team, but we'll see. He might just be like a pedestrian starter.
Yeah. How do you see this upcoming Rockets Pelicans?
I don't know. Reed and I always put five, like no matter what, Reed could send me like one letter, and that means that like, hey, we're betting on the $5 on the Rockets Pels game.
Oh my God, you
So,
must be a rich. You must be a rich man.
exactly. I don't know why he keeps doing it, but I don't know. Is it in Houston or New Orleans?
Does it matter? Could be in Afghanistan. It'll fucking matter. The Pels are gonna lose.
Yeah, for sure. But
At
it
least I hope
used
they
to be
lose.
the way last year that Şengün was a liability on defense
Hmm.
and as strong as Valanciunas was, him and Jaren Jackson Jr. every time they came into Houston would light us up for like 40 points a game. So without him, and then there's not like a obvious defensive liability anymore. Like I just don't see a way that the Pels could. I don't know. Maybe Zion if Jabari's not playing, but
Are you unfamiliar with Eve Missy?
I've seen some of his clips, but no,
He's awesome.
educate me.
He's awesome. He's 20 years old. We got him 21st pick, 17th pick, something like that. But anyway, raw guy. I think he's from like Cameroon or somewhere Africa. But yeah, I mean he's pretty raw, but yeah, he's super athletic. He's probably like a top 5 rookie right now. But yeah, no.
I mean, I've heard that, but he's a center.
Yeah, he's a center. He's not like a like Jokic. I'm gonna shoot threes and pass the ball crazy. He's just a raw like athletic freak, like lob threat kind of guy. He's a solid defender, but he's gonna be pretty good. I think his floor is Capella, and then I don't really know what his ceiling is gonna be quite yet. But I need to see in 2 years. I could probably tell you, but he's pretty good. I mean, he had 24 points the other night. Okay, here's a fun question for you, and I kind of brought it up. Well, I guess you don't really know Eve Missy, so I got to pick someone else. But I was like, the question was like, who has more trade value right now, Joel Embiid or Eve Missy? And I was like, I'm pretty sure Eve Missy has more trade value. Like I would take Eve Missy 10 out of 10 times over Embiid. I think Embiid's like the ultimate, like I'd take my value kind of guy. I mean, he went from MVP to like one of the worst contracts in all sports.
Yeah, uh, charity MVP too. Still think
Yeah,
Jokic should have won that one, but
it was MVP fatigue. Like they didn't want to vote for him again.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really thought he was good. His like second, third year in the league, but again, like if you just, I forget how old Yao Ming was when he was at the end of his career, but it's getting to that point where it's like, hey man, if you can't play more than 50 games a season, we're paying you so much, and we can get Tyrese, we can pay Tyrese Maxey or James Harden or Paul George, but other than that, like we can't bring anybody in. Like you just gotta get rid of that guy. But
But I don't. Who would trade for Joel Embiid right now?
I don't know. It's a good question.
My friend was like making a point. Oh, a contender. I'm like, what contender? I don't see it. I mean, I'll
Yeah,
go
what
through all the
contender's
teams
gonna?
right now. Let's see. I'll go through every single team
I
right
don't
now.
know. Maybe Dallas now.
With
Is Anthony Davis playing yet, or is he still hurt?
so who is shipping off?
Oh, I just meant like a 1-for-1. Those two guys.
Anthony, I would trade AD for Embiid unless Embiid came with picks. I mean, all right, let's see. Cleveland, no. Boston, no. New York, no. Milwaukee. I mean, does that even make sense? I don't know.
I don't think so. Those guys, I think, benefit from the ball moving around too much to give it to a.
Indiana, like Mathurin and some salary fillers. That Miles Turner's about to be a free agent, so
Yeah, he's gone.
or
I hope.
yeah, I mean unless it's a sign and trade, like Mathurin and Miles Turner, but Detroit, they got Jalen Duren. Do you want to mess with that? Does he want to go
Yeah,
to
they got him,
Detroit? That's
and
another thing
then
with the NBA. It's like, do these guys even want to go to these cities? And is he going to sulk like he sulks now? Like
yeah, exactly.
Detroit, I heard it's nice this time of year. Miami, does Miami want that guy? The Heat culture, they want that guy.
Yeah, definitely not. Does the Trailblazers still have? Say, DeAndre Ayton, right?
Yeah,
God, that was a guy, a huge bust. I remember watching him during the draft and thinking like, oh, this guy's gonna be the next like Hakeem. He's got awesome footwork.
I think he's a bust, or I don't think he's a bust if he's like the eighth pick. He's like a number
No,
one. He's like a number one guy bust. Like you take him number one, like yeah, he's a bust. Like, but he's having a solid career. But yeah, he's not like a
he wasn't an eighth pick.
no. No, I'm saying like
Oh,
if he
okay.
was the eighth pick, you wouldn't call him a bust. You'd be like, oh, he's having a solid NBA career. But like
Yeah, and
since he went
you're in that
above
same like
Luca,
Booker, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. OKC, no. Why would OKC do that? Denver, no. Lakers. I mean, Lakers are interested in everybody, so
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. I think they've tried out like every center in the league.
I love the I never know if it's Centel or maybe it's Central, but with the Lakers, it's like oh Lakers in this interested in this guy. It's like every day. Memphis, I don't see that.
What about Sacramento?
Sacramento.
So I know they've got Sabonis, but
Yeah,
they're just
who are the
not.
three guys? I would say well they don't have Fox anymore, but Sabonis and Embiid. I don't know what that trade looked like.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, again, maybe I'm not giving up Sabonis for Embiid.
Well, I wouldn't give up
It's too
Sabonis. I
risky.
think it'd just be a bunch of salary fillers and a pick. I literally think that's where he's at right now. Like I just don't think his value is there. I mean, unless Utah was like, oh screw it, we'll throw in Kessler and Jordan Clarkson and all these other guys, and
Yeah,
we'll have
honestly, that's probably the most realistic is him going to Utah and just
Danny
you
Ainge
know
is like, I don't care, he's good. Like
dying in
we're
4 years.
tanking
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, I mean Minnesota.
Mm,
Randall and
yeah, they're too big heavy now. I feel like
you think Embiid and Ant would get together or get along? I don't think they get along worth a shit.
God knows. I don't think Ant gets along well with anybody.
You don't think?
I mean, I don't know, not from like like he's difficult to play with, but like hey man, like I'm here to play basketball, that's my job, and like fuck you, like just like Kobe Jordan type level asshole.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to make of Ant because sometimes he seems like a class clown, and other times he seems serious. So I don't know. I remember when he got drafted, it was like he's like I don't even watch basketball like for fun. I'm like,
Forgot about
oh,
that.
okay. I was like, if I'm a GM, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know. That's pretty interesting, but I don't know. But there's really no like obvious team for Embiid, in my opinion. I mean, Phoenix could just keep tripling down on the dumb shit that they do. I guess I don't really know.
Yeah, maybe.
You went Houston, no, obviously. Clippers, Harden and Embiid again, round two.
Yeah, I don't know. It's if Daryl Morey's involved, I'm sure Harden's not with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, I mean, unless Washington's like, ah, screw it, we'll take it, give us a pick or two, and then we'll just keep sucking. I mean, Washington's been on a rebuild since John Wall and Beal, so Brooklyn, I mean, there's just like no obvious team in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Utah might be his best case,
damn,
but still not a good one.
yeah, it's crazy. I don't really know, but any other NBA stuff you want to touch on, or you good on NBA?
No, I'm good. Maybe 8 out.
You what?
I said I'm NBA out.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll give you one more question. All right. On March 2nd, 5:50 p.m., you got to pick the NBA Finals and who wins. What is it right now?
Oof, that's tough. I was just thinking about this. So in the East, I think there's three teams. There's the Celtics. There's oh my God, why am I spacing?
Cleveland,
Celtics, Cleveland, and oh my God,
New York,
embarrassing myself.
Milwaukee, Detroit.
not, not Detroit yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they slip in a couple years. But okay, so let's say Celtics or the Cavs. That's definitely going to be the finals matchup. I'm sorry, the Eastern Conference Finals matchup. The West, I feel like it's just an absolute free for all. But if I've gotta pick someone, oh man, OKC, Memphis, Houston, all teams I'd love to take, but they just don't have the experience. I could see, well, Dallas can't do it anymore. Fuck. I hate to do the ESPN take, but I could really see the Lakers making it. I just
I
I
would say
couldn't even pick a
Lakers.
team in the West.
If that Mark Williams trade would have gone through, I might have said Lakers. But I mean, you got
Yeah,
Jackson Hayes. I watched Jackson Hayes just be Jackson Hayes for I don't know way too long. So I don't trust that one. If they see Jaren Jackson Jr. or Jokic or Sengun or I mean, you name any viable center. Like,
yeah. Let's Okay, in the West, let's just take OKC again. Chet comes back, or if he's not back already. And in the East, I'm gonna take. God, it's so tough. I know the Celtics just won today. I'm gonna take the Cavs. I think it's their turn.
really? Yeah, I mean that Jared Allen is he a playoff guy? I don't know.
Yeah,
He's like one of those guys that
Jared
really
Allen
good.
and Evan Mobley, those two guys together are just unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think Cleveland, if Cleveland could piece it together, I think they probably pose the biggest threat. I mean, the safe answer, you gotta go with Boston, I guess. I'm not sure. I mean, that's another thing. I get Porzingis, Tingus Pingus. Can he stay healthy? You know, I don't know. It's kind of wide
That
open.
team
And
makes
then
makes Derek White look amazing.
wait, what?
So that team makes Derek White look amazing.
Derek White
Like,
is pretty good. Yeah, he was good on
yeah,
Spurs for like 1 or 2 years, and then he kind of tapered off. And then yeah, they made it. That's the thing. They complement each other. Like that's what you got to do in the NBA. So
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, I'm all NBA out too. Last podcast we talked about hockey teams in Houston. Is that ever going to happen? Just quick elevator pitch if you're going to do it.
I don't know, man. I mean, if JJ Watt says that he's bringing in an NHL team to Houston, then I'm not getting in his way. That guy raised, like $200 million or whatever for Harvey relief, and if anybody can make it happen, I think he can. We had a pretty good hockey fan base. We had the Arrows, which were like a farm team that left like when we were in high school, that had like a pretty decent fan base. And Dallas has been turning people out, so I wouldn't rule Houston out. And if they expand, awesome market. People are always looking for more stuff to do. So if you just put another team, like the Dynamo, doing really well, even like the women's soccer team, the Houston Dash, turn people out. So I don't see why not.
There's just some like the market there is so big.
Yeah, exactly.
How is a Houston owner? Because at like one time, there were rumors. It was like 6 8 months ago about him. What's his name? Was Fertitta?
Fertitta, yeah.
Yeah, about him buying the Saints. He's a pretty good owner, right?
Yeah, he's been he does like the fan friendly like concessions. That's been okay. It's another thing that he does is he's been very patient, with our young core, and he's like, look, I'm gonna take my hands off, let the right people make the decisions. I'm not gonna pressure anybody, and I'm gonna let them rebuild. And so I've, if you can get to accept like all the Landrys and Golden Nugget ads, then he's been amazing.
He's a
But
casino guy.
yeah, he's got the Golden Nuggets. I think he's got a bunch of casinos like in Atlantic City and Lake Charles. Like he owns all Lake Charles, I think.
So he's got a little Louisiana ties. I mean, it'd be kind of natural. I mean, it's legal here. So is Texas still talking about legalizing gambling?
Yeah, and that was like one of the interesting things I heard around the Luca trade, and there was somebody had mentioned that they now do I think it'll happen? No, like weed's still not legal, and gambling, I feel like it's legal in what, like 30 plus states already. So,
Mhm.
but somebody had mentioned, because I think the owners of the Mavericks now are a casino family, and that they were
Yeah.
trying to essentially like appease the NBA, get Luca to LA, and then they have a bargaining chip, and they can say, all right, well, look, we're going to take our team to Vegas unless the Texas legislature like actually does something with gambling. And because apparently they own all of the, or a lot of the real estate around the arena, and so they want to expand it and turn it into like a better fan experience. And I don't know, it's just something I heard. But
Well, um, the like where the old Cowboy Stadium used to be is like in Irving, which is right now it's in downtown Dallas, the American Airlines Center. Yeah, but like the rumor was that the owners of the Mavs were going to do that. They were going to put it like kind of where the old Cowboy Stadium was and put it in Irving, which is a little outside Dallas. But yeah, I don't really know that. I think if Texas legalized gambling, it hurt Louisiana and really hurt Oklahoma too. I know.
oh yeah, because that's like Lake Charles makes all its money from Houston, I bet.
Yeah. Well, I know like people come in from Texas, Lake Charles, Freeport, all these places they come in just to gamble. So and then you got
Yeah,
Choctaw and Oklahoma and all that. So yeah, I think that'd be pretty interesting. But yeah, I know that was a rumor for Fertitta buying the Saints. I didn't know if that would be kind of viable or not, but I love owners that are like that. They kind of just let it play
yeah.
out rather than being like Ishbia. It's like, oh, we're gonna get these guys, and then you know we're
And
gonna
the
go
Saints
into
are
the double
probably
tax.
probably looking for a patient owner right now, in the way things are going. And
Well, Gail's good in the fact that like our owner Gail Benson, she's like
yeah,
owner that like she keeps her hands off, but like she doesn't pick. I don't think the people running it now are like good. So like I think she needs to be more hands on, but I don't really know to what effect she has like knowledge of the game. I just think it's as long as she's getting paid, it's like whatever. They just rose season ticket prices for the Saints again. It's like they had the balls on them, bro.
yeah.
Like
For what?
yeah, like bro, you come see Derek Carr when we don't even know he's gonna be our starting quarterback next year. It's insane.
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean
know
the
if I
green
sent
the
it to you, but
green.
I saw that like alert that somebody quote tweeted the like Saints committing to Derek Carr. It was like, all right, New Orleans Saints eliminated from playoff contention.
Yeah. It's like within seconds, there's already a meme made. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's oh yeah, I was talking to like Endymions yesterday from Mardi Gras, and I was talking to
Hmm.
like I don't know, maybe 10 Saints fans. Not one of them was like, yeah, that's awesome. It's like, oh, like that's why I like respected Denver so much with Peyton. Peyton brought in Wilson and then didn't click, and they just ripped it off, just got it out of there. Whatever it takes, just get them out of there. So, Carr was supposed to come here and be this big leader, and then his family, his other brother. What's his other brother that played for Houston?
David.
I don't know if it's him or his other brother. I don't know. It's way too many cars, in my opinion. But yeah, they were like fighting. They were like posting stats of Derek Carr versus Kellen Moore stats when Kellen Moore was.
Oof.
I'm like, what is this shit? Like, this is like the ultimate, like unaccountable, like just non-leader stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. The Saints are in a weird spot. But yeah,
I hate
you were telling me before the show, the Texans, like the ghost of the Texans right now. Is that what you're saying before?
Yeah, I got a hot take for you.
All
Not
right.
not many people in Houston want to hear, but I think CJ Stroud's overrated, man. I think he got lucky last year, and the guy's super athletic. He can throw the shit out the ball, but you know, and maybe with a new offense next year, with us getting rid of Slovic, but it'll help, or he'll kind of come into his own. But I think this year just showed that he's not that guy like Deshaun Watson looked like he was going to be. But
What was wrong with We're going back to Slovic really quick. What happened to Slovic? Because Slovic was like in the hunt for being like the next like hot like head coach candidate, and then all of a sudden he's fired. Like, what do you think happened? Just like,
I don't know, man. We just had such a talented offense that couldn't do anything, and we had a decent O line when we were healthy. Joe Mixon, three amazing receivers at one time, and like just couldn't move the ball.
hmm.
Couldn't win games.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because like I remember him being like, "Oh, Slovic, he's gonna be the next guy," and then he got fired. So, but yeah, my piece of advice is just enjoy Stroud for what he is, because you
Could
know,
be Derek Carr.
yeah, no, I think he's gonna be
Man,
better than Carr. But no, I just if you got a decent quarterback or a halfway decent quarterback, just ride with it. Because it's infuriating. I mean, it's crazy to sound like one of my friends is a Ravens fan. He gets like mad at Lamar sometimes. I'm like, dude, like, I'm like, bro, you just gotta accept, like, just take it. Like, it's a
yeah,
great
grass is
player.
always greener.
Like, there's just never like this perfect player. And if there are perfect, you're unbelievably lucky. But yeah, it's just, I mean, hell, even Mahomes caught a bunch of shit. Mahomes is supposed to be like this, like, the next chosen one, and people were giving him shit. So it's just like, it's just sports. You only what have you done for me lately? But
Yeah,
yeah,
everybody's so nearsighted now with social media. It's like you just can't, I can't watch a player over 4 games and say, oh well, objectively they've done this, this, and this, and here's why they were bad. But no, it's just like, oh, Mahomes threw an interception. I hate him. Oh, he threw for 4 interceptions in a game. He's Tom Brady.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like that with the Saints fans. Like when we were 2-0, it's like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. And I was sitting there on this podcast. I'm like, I don't think Derek Carr and Dennis Allen figured this out on year 10 or year 11, whatever the hell they were in. Like, like I said at the beginning of this pod, I was like, you are what you are, dude. Like, I think you either just got it or you just don't.
Yeah,
And if you might not have it and then figure it out a couple years in, I think that's definitely possible. But I just think Derek Carr is in his 30s. Allen's been doing this long enough. Like, it is what it is. So, yeah, enjoy Stroud for what he is. If he fucks up here and there, then just remember you could have Derek Carr or just anyone
yeah,
else. Um, but yeah, I don't even know what he's going to get paid when he comes up. I mean, I think the NFL kind of needs like max contracts. Don't you agree?
yeah.
I think it
He'll,
makes things interesting.
yeah. I'm sure he'll fetch a bunch of money. Granted, shit doesn't go sideways next year, but we'll see.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, nothing I can think of.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Houston related stuff. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, I'm glad we talked about Fertitta because that was in the back of my mind, possible owners or future owners. So, but there really is no like rumors out there for hockey. Like no one's talking about it.
Not recently. Nothing.
Mm.
Like I said, I remember JJ Watt was, on ESPN or whatever saying he was going to get us a hockey team, but we'll see.
Do you watch any sports media shows these days?
God
Like,
no, I can't stand it. I don't even like I deleted it a while back and then signed up again recently, but like the ESPN Bleacher Report notifications, see, like I think I'm subscribed to like golf overall, and so I want to hear like, oh, Ludwig Aberg, like, hole in one, but then I get a push notification that's like Trump's thinking about stepping in to fix the Live PGA deal, and I'm like, I don't. Nobody gives a shit about that. I was getting notifications before he left. It's like, oh, LeBron James looking for houses in L.A. I'm like, all right, cool. Tell me when he gets traded. Give me the notification. But
yeah,
and then same thing, like I was talking about earlier, the sports media. I think there's just too much of it. It's too saturated,
it's too
and so
fast.
now
The
it's
news cycle's too fast.
yeah, and so it's like, oh, Jalen Green, Dookie. Oh, he scored 40 points. Is he the next Michael Jordan? It's just
Yeah,
it's too reactionary, and you can't say like, again, I've seen somebody develop over their career and they're getting better and they're showing me this. And then also like the Kevin Durant complaint. It's like there's a bunch of really good guys in the NBA, and some nights they have it, some nights they don't. And it's like, can't we just I hate to sound like this, but like, hey, can't we just appreciate all these guys and doing really well? Do we really have to say like every time Luca has a bad game, like, oh, he's unconditioned fat slob and blah blah blah.
yeah. No, it's very reactionary. I agree. Um, yeah, it just. I asked all my sports fans that question. Like, do you even watch any of this shit anymore? I used to watch Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. That was actually pretty entertaining, especially like when the Pelicans were like kind of rebuilding and getting Lonzo, and I was keeping up the like. It was like there was like one year when the Lakers like really sucked, and that was the year we got Dyson Daniels in the draft, like with like eighth pick or whatever. And it was the definition of like because Lakers get the first spot every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so funny. Like the Lakers could win 20 in a row in that 21st game. Like Skip Bayless is like, I told you, Shannon. I told you,
Mm-hmm.
LeBron. And it's like it is kind of funny, but like it just gotten to the point where there really is not many shows left, in my opinion. I think
I
everything's
will
just
say,
gotten reverted to podcasts and stuff.
oh yeah, 100%. But I still hate Pat McAfee. But it's another
You're
story.
not a
But I will
McAfee
say,
guy?
no. I mean, I like him in chunks, but I couldn't watch his show for anywhere more than like 20, less than that, anywhere more than like 5 minutes. But I still do get goosebumps every time I hear, and they put it over his highlights all the time. That time that Stephen A. Smith was talking about James Harden, and he was like, this dude went for 30, 32, 36, 37, 45, 32, just going through his 30-point game streak,
Mm-hmm.
which again, like being a Houston fan, being a part of that, like I got to see him against the Celtics in the middle of that. It's just unreal.
Yeah,
So
that
it makes for its clips, and I do love hearing Stephen A. say some stupid shit, but it it gets old.
that's all that is, like headlines, and it's like click like these like short like 15 sec. Can you see what he said, like 15 20-second clips?
Hmm.
It's like that's all that's really become now. So yeah, I don't know. Sports are just getting interesting. So yeah. Anything else you want to touch on? All good.
All good.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys can like and subscribe, appreciate it. And if you're still hanging around, appreciate you tuning in. So see you next time.